Many people thought that Xianxia not using the purple yang Excalibur now was an arrogant move, for the sake of displaying his current strength, making people think that he could win the competition without using the purple yang Excalibur. The main reason why Xianxia did not use purple yang Excalibur was because he was not confident, because he was worried that the purple yang Excalibur was insufficient for him to defeat Qin Shuang. Qin Shuang's strength was extremely strong. Even though it was only a 10-sword strike, for Xianxia the pressure was still great. I definitely can't lose. If I lose, I would have to compete with purple yang Excalibur and give it to her. Xianxia was reluctant to part with his purple yang Excalibur. Although his heavenly magic sword was better than theirs, there was a special meaning to their existence. They were extremely beautiful and could even allow him to enter the Purple Yang Divine Palace. One must know that the Purple Yang Divine Palace was very big, and he had not finished his exploration. If not for the people from the Thief King and the rest, he might have stayed there for a while longer. Qin Shuang did not say anything more to Xianxia at the moment. If not, Xianxia would only anger her, and if she were to fight an evenly matched opponent, getting angered by the opponent, that would be very disadvantageous. But she felt that if she were to compete with Xianxia and get angered, it would only be Xianxia's bad luck. Let's begin now. I will be the first to draw my sword. When I draw my sword, I will remind you, Qin Shuang said. She suddenly felt that she had the advantage now, so she did not want to take too advantage of Xianxia. All right. Xianxia took a few steps back, while waiting for Qin Shuang to attack. At this time, Bai Shulan suddenly transmitted his voice to Xianxia. Qin Shuang mainly uses the power of frost. You should be able to sense it, right? Bai Shulan said. And you, who use flames, shouldn't be too worried about her. The most powerful thing about Qin Shuang is her kind of berserker ice sword intent. This is the most terrifying thing. I should have already felt it earlier. Carried a very strong killing intent. Xianxia said, while Qin Shuang was staring at him. His killing intent surged, causing him to feel a chill all over his body. Watch my sword. Qin Shuang held her sword in her hand. This sword was her sword of life. Although it was very powerful, there was no name, and it was not as sonorous as the divine sword in Lan Kuanyuan's hand earlier. But no one had ever dared to underestimate Qin Shuang's sword. Qin Shuang slowly raised the sword in his hand towards Xianxia. At this time, a faint cold wind suddenly appeared around them, as the cold wind blew past, causing everyone to shiver, as though a wave of killing intent was descending from the sky. I'm here. When Qin Shuang really attacked, she shouted once again. A faint white shadow suddenly swept towards Xianxia, looking extremely graceful and nimble. This was originally a very beautiful scene, but the killing intent released by Qin Shuang's body made the beautiful scene look like it was in hell. The cold and captivating Qin Shuang had also turned into a peerless god of death. Her proud and beautiful face was filled with a somber killing intent. Xianxia could only stand there motionlessly. He could not teleport, nor could he use the 6 realms mirrors to block. When Qin Shuang thrusted the sword over, it did not seem fast. But Xianxia knew that he had nowhere to run. No matter how fast he dodged, he would still be hit. Her main goal is to get rid of the sword in my hand. What I want to do is to protect the sword in my hand. Facing Qin Shuang's threatening attack, Xianxia's expression was calm. He anxiously placed his sword behind his back. Qin Shuang originally thought that Xianxia would wave her sword to block, because she felt that no matter who it was, as long as she faced this terrifying killing intent, would not be able to resist and would instinctively wave her sword to block, and at this time, she only needed to use her full strength to knock her opponent's sword to the ground. But she did not expect Xianxia to be so cold, to be able to calm herself down and react in such a relaxed manner. Qin Shuang's sword was already at Xianxia's throat. She stared at Xianxia's smiling face and snorted coldly. The first strike. Xianxia laughed. There are still 9 swords. Just now, everyone could feel Qin Shuang's terrifying killing intent. They felt that if they were facing this kind of aura, they might have already knelt down. But Xianxia was actually able to stand there and not do anything. Hearing Xianxia's voice just now, everyone suddenly came to a realization. Qin Shuang had previously signed a blood contract with Xianxia. so he would not kill Xianxia during the competition. Very good. I didn't expect it. Qin Shuang had originally thought that her first sword strike would be able to defeat Xianxia, but this was truly unexpected. Second sword. After Qin Shuang finished speaking, he had already flashed behind Xianxia. Xianxia could feel a wave of cold air pass by his back. Qin Shuang's current speed was very fast, and in an instant he had already arrived behind him. However, Xianxia's reaction was very fast. As though he had predicted Qin Shuang's movements, he only had to lower his sword a little and avoid Qin Shuang's sword. Second sword. Xianxia dodged, distancing himself far away from Qin Shuang. At this moment, Qin Shuang finally realized that it was not easy to knock out the sword in Xianxia's hand. Firstly, she could not injure Xianxia. She thought that if Xianxia could not use teleportation with his cultivation level, his speed would not be so fast, but she realized she was wrong. Xianxia was extremely fast, and only a little slower than her. Furthermore, Xianxia had a lot of battle experience, so he was not afraid of danger. If Xianxia had not competed with Lan Kunyuan before, he definitely would not be able to hold on now. Lan Kunyuan's killing intent earlier had caused him to feel fear and despair, but after that time he was not that easily scared. This was growth. I've underestimated you. Qin Shuang snorted. Her figure flashed and appeared behind Xianxia like a gust of wind. Her main target was the heavenly magic sword behind Xianxia. At this moment, Qin Shuang's aura had increased by a lot, and her speed was even faster than lightning. She came to Xianxia's back and thrusted her sword towards Xianxia's heavenly magic sword. Ding! With a crisp sound, Qin Shuang's sword successfully touched Xianxia's heavenly magic sword and released a buzzing sound. She thought that one slash would be able to break apart Xianxia's heavenly magic sword, but right now, she had only pushed him a little further forward. This woman. Just now she only used a few % of her strength, otherwise I would definitely have been severely injured. Xianxia's expression became serious and shouted, "Third sword." Qin Shuang's heart was in shock. She suddenly felt that not only had she underestimated Xianxia's strength, she had also underestimated the sword in Xianxia's hands. The extremely strong power that she had used, when she pierced through the tip of the sword of life, actually did not leave even a single trace, and only produced a buzzing sound. Qin Shuang had a lot of battle experience, although she had only used a few parts of her power, but if someone else was pushed by the power, they would definitely be thrown far away. However, Xianxia had only been pushed back about 20 steps, and he did not use any kind of power to block her attack, because Xianxia could not react at all. This also meant that Xianxia's sword had absorbed a very strong force. Who was watching the battle from afar also noticed something. His pupils shrank as he said in a low voice, "The sword in Xianxia's hand is extraordinary." Everyone also felt that it was strange. Xianxia's sword was extremely strange, because the power behind his sword was not limited to just a little, but it had been completely absorbed. "I didn't expect you to be so fast. I can't get used to it." Xianxia turned and looked at Qin Shuang. Qin Shuang's speed had suddenly increased by a lot, to the point where he was unable to comprehend what had happened. "You're not bad either." Qin Shuang was no longer underestimating Xianxia. She only had 7 sword attacks left. The second sword attack was that she was no longer able to touch Xianxia's heavenly magic sword. Although she did not succeed. Qin Shuang started to become serious. Snow and frost were already falling from the sky, and a layer of faint white frost appeared on Qin Shuang's face. When Xianxia saw that her feet had suddenly been sealed by a thick layer of ice, she was alarmed. However, Qin Shuang had already arrived, and her speed was even faster this time, to the point that she was unbelievably fast. It was as if she had teleported, and Xianxia was simply unable to catch her movements. Clang! A resounding vibration rang out, and Xianxia felt an incomparable trembling from his own hand, accompanied with a piercing chill. The coldness, along with the intense vibration, seeped into his palm and into his arm, causing him to feel as if his entire arm had lost consciousness for an instant. Not good. This woman was attacking my sword just now, and she was even striking the very berserk icy cold power. Xianxia's right hand was holding onto the sword. It was already numb. It was unable to grip onto anything. If Qin Shuang threw out another sword, his heavenly magic sword would fall. The sword on Xianxia's back was already filled with a layer of frost, while his legs were already frozen on the ground. The hand that was holding the sword was pained so much that it was numb, as though it could break at any time. Just as Xianxia had expected, after Qin Shuang's previous sword move, she immediately followed up with a sword strike. Right now, she was extremely agitated, because her fifth sword strike was definitely going to succeed. But just as he was about to successfully kill Xianxia's heavenly magic sword, the heavenly magic sword suddenly disappeared and reappeared on Xianxia's other hand. You violated the blood contract. Qin Shuang let out a delicate shout, but her expression changed, because the blood contract had not backfired on Xianxia, which meant that he had not used his spatial space just now. Suddenly, a scorching heat wave came from Xianxia's body. The berserk heat wave gushed out, causing the thick ice on the ground to melt, allowing Xianxia to escape from the heat. This is the sun madness fire. After Xianxia struggled free, he laughed mischievously and used the shrinking step to run far away. Sun madness fire. Qin Shuang looked at the remnant aura on the surface of the ice and frowned. Could it be condensed from cultivating frenzy sword method? Sun madness fire is really powerful. The fifth strike. Xianxia laughed. You still have 5 more swords. Qin Shuang looked at Xianxia from afar and asked, "What happened just now? Why did your sword instantly run from your right hand to your left?" Qin Shuang wasn't the only one who didn't understand. The others also didn't understand. They were all very curious. But Bai Shualan, who was in the Bai mansion, frowned slightly and thought, "This sword has followed the elder brother Shen for many years and is now connected to the blood and flesh of the elder brother Shen." The sword just entered his body, and then appeared in his left hand. Using this sword is the true strength of the elder brother Shen. The current Bai Shualan already understood why Xianxia did not use an even stronger purple yang Excalibur, but chose this one instead. "When I win, I will naturally tell you." Laughed. The heavenly magic sword had many secrets, and inside there was a powerful sword spirit. It was just that it was currently sleeping. Qin Shuang suffered a huge blow at this moment, because she had already unleashed her 5th sword strike and did not let Xianxia's sword fall to the ground. If this continued, she would definitely lose. "I absolutely cannot lose." Qin Shuang recalled Xianxia's previous frivolous words to her and knew that if he lost, the result would definitely be very miserable. This Xianxia is truly a flowery person, but he can only play around. If he truly fights with me, he will definitely be defeated. Hong Qianyi snorted, purposely saying it in a loud voice. "Your cultivation is 1 stage higher than me. Isn't it normal for me to lose to you?" Xianxia laughed. "If I were to condense the second world-defying stage Fierce Soul, Lan Kuanuan will be the same as you." "Who's afraid of who?" Hong Qianyi laughed in disdain. "This is our battle." Qin Shuang saw that Xianxia was bickering with her, and was not even focusing on the competition at all, which made her angry. "Oh yes, then hurry up and start." Xianxia laughed. "You bastard." Qin Shuang became furious and instantly appeared behind Xianxia, once again attacking from behind him. This was because Xianxia had the sword on his back the entire time. But now, Xianxia had suddenly moved the sword forward. He was also very close. Qin Shuang had been pretty far away from him before, but suddenly he appeared behind him without any movement, and he had already appeared before. Until now, he still did not understand how Qin Shuang did it. Qin Shuang had only come up behind him earlier. She did not pull out her sword, but seeing Xianxia holding the sword up front, in the next moment she was right in front of Xianxia. Is it teleportation? But there's no spatial ripple at all. When Xianxia saw that Qin Shuang had appeared and was waving his sword with all his might, he was suspicious of him, but at the same time, he held onto the heavenly magic sword tightly, preparing to clash with Qin Shuang for the first time. Qin Shuang swung his sword, all of the power striking the sword body, the cold air attacking people like a giant wave made of ice and snow. It struck down, causing people's entire body to feel ice cold. Xianxia anxiously released the Sun Madness Fire S to fill his entire body, as this could prevent Qin Shuang's terrifying cold qi from penetrating his body. At the same time, he also injected a large amount of Sun Madness Fire S into the heavenly magic sword. In the blink of an eye, the two swords had already clashed. The Sun Madness Fire and the Berserk Ice Power clashed, the cold and heat clashing against each other, creating a very strange wave of air. The thick layer of ice that was originally frozen over the ground had already shattered. After being covered by the scorching waves of air, it gradually melted. Although Xianxia's body was already protected by the Sun Madness Fire, it was still drilled into his body by a large amount of extremely strong and violent icy cold power, wreaking havoc within his body. After the two swords clashed, he was sent flying by a wave of qi, causing a slight piercing pain in his body. Even though Qin Shuang was standing in place, her expression was even colder than before. That sword strike just now had caused her to feel the terrifying flame energy within Xianxia's body, and made her recall something that someone had said before. Since Xianxia was able to take out the myriad Tao Divine Soil Crystal, she must have obtained it from the Divine Soil restricted area. But now, after she had sparred with Xianxia, she felt that Xianxia's powerful Sun Madness Fire made her understand that Xianxia's Sun Madness Fire was not formed because of the cultivation of the Frenzy Sword method, but because the Tinder Array had condensed the fire seed of the Sun Madness Fire and cultivated the Sun Madness Fire. The sixth strike. It's time to end it. Xianxia's hand that was holding onto the heavenly magic sword trembled, waiting for Qin Shuang's seventh sword strike. All right, Qin Shuang bellowed and struck again. Just like before, Qin Shuang seemed to have used a teleportation method as he instantly appeared in front of Xianxia and slashed out with lightning speed. When she brandished her sword, she only saw Xianxia brandishing it, but then she felt a very violent vibration coming from her jade hand. At the same time, an ear-splitting explosion occurred. Her hand became empty, and her sword actually flew away. After Qin Shuang's long sword left his hand, it flew into the air, and under the shining of the sunlight, it gave off a cold glow. When it landed, it stabbed into the ground, and a new hole appeared on the blade of the sword. Although Qin Shuang's sword was nameless, it was Qin Shuang's most terrifying weapon. As long as one had fought with her before, no one would be afraid, and even Hong Qianyi, who was spectating, would have a headache if he saw this sword. But at this time, not only was Qin Shuang's sword flying, it was also missing a hole. Everyone took in a deep breath of cold air. They tried their best to think back to what had just happened, and they only saw Xianxia brandishing his sword, but they did not see Xianxia slash at them, nor did they see Xianxia's movements. Xianxia was still standing there, but inexplicably, his sword landed. It was as if Xianxia had disappeared during the time they were slashing the sword. Everyone suddenly felt that they were missing that period of time. They did not experience that period of time, but only Xianxia experienced it. Qin Shuang was also desperately trying to remember the entire process. She could very clearly remember that when Xianxia brandished his sword, he did not even make a single movement, nor did she feel a hint of movement in his energy. Only that when Xianxia swung his sword, she felt a tremor, and the sword flew out. The moment after Xianxia swung his sword, it was lost. It was gone, and other than Xianxia, no one else had experienced that period of time. Thinking about that, Qin Shuang's entire body shivered. Law of time. Some of the old men who were watching the battle also thought that Xianxia had used a very mysterious power of time. You lost, Xianxia said. Qin Shuang's entire being was in a daze. She walked over and pulled out her broken sword. Her expression was filled with desolation, as though she had just been burnt to ashes. She had lost all of her life force. On one hand, her sword of life had been damaged, and on the other hand, she had suffered an unprecedented blow. Qin Shuang was originally a very proud woman. She was arrogant because she possessed great power. In order to give herself a cold and arrogant attitude, she continuously increased her strength and worked hard. But now, it's all ruined. I've lost. After a long while, Qin Shuang sighed. No, at least you lost. Xianxia still approved of Qin Shuang's power very much. The reason he said that he would lose was only because he felt that this was just a game, and that this was a competition that set a rule that neither side would be equal. This was not a real battle, so there was no loss or victory. What Xianxia used just now was merely the god-murdering sword techniques that he had not used for a long time. The god-murdering sword techniques originally contained the profound meaning of time, and coupled with his later control of the time laws, it made his use of it even more proficient. Once it was used, it would be impossible for others to guard against it. Xianxia was also waiting for a good opportunity to make his move. When he brandished his sword, he used the power of the heaven-blasting palm, and adding on some of the techniques he had mastered before, he shook the power out of Qin Shuang's body. Qin Shuang lost. Let's go up quickly, an old man from the heaven-old imperial family said, and after he finished, they immediately rushed towards Xianxia. Hong Qianyi also came. Hong Qianyi held onto the golden divine blade, and when he came over, the spirit qi around his body surged. The heaven and earth seemed to be filled with the roars of 10,000 beasts. It was precisely the terrifying spirit qi that caused Qin Shuang, who had lost his consciousness, to suddenly wake up. The heaven-old imperial family wanted to make a move against the Bai family. Not only the heaven-old imperial family, even the Qin family had made their move. What are you doing? Qin Shuang roared at the people from the Qin family. Are you trying to kill me? Don't you guys know about the blood contract between Xianxia and me? No matter whether we win or lose, I must ensure that no one touches him. Qin Shuang, you've worked hard. You just have to be careful when dealing with Hong Qianyi. We will definitely help you take down Xianxia and seize his purple yang Excalibur. An old man from the Qin clan said. Hong Qianyi could not deal with the Bai family, and could not deal with Xianxia, but he could make his move against Qin Shuang. As long as they could delay Qin Shuang, the combined might of the heaven-old imperial family and the Qin family could take Xianxia down. Seeing that heaven-old imperial family and the Qin family had joined hands, the people from Lan clan also rushed forward. Qin Shuang, help me kill this group of people who are surrounding me. As long as you lose to me, I'll let you do whatever you want. Right now, I'll let you get rid of this bunch of bastards and then we'll be even. After Xianxia finished speaking, he waved his hand vigorously, and a purple light shot out. Qin Shuang was startled, and unexpectedly, Xianxia threw the purple yang Excalibur over to her. Use the purple yang Excalibur to kill them all. After Xianxia finished speaking, he summoned his 6 realms mirrors and blocked a wave of energy that was attacking him. When Qin Shuang took over the purple yang Excalibur, she seemed like a dead person just a moment ago, and immediately came to life. She seemed to be filled with excitement. Her entire body was filled with killing intent, and the purple yang Excalibur in her hands released a dazzling purple light. At this time, Bai Shualan, who was inside the Bai mansion, had already turned into a white shadow and rushed out. After she entered the battlefield immediately became like a stove, and once the berserk flame sword force was unleashed, scorching waves of air swept out like wind. Before Hong Qianyi made his move, he thought that Qin Shuang would be easy to deal with. But now that he saw the purple yang Excalibur in Qin Shuang's hand, he scolded him inwardly. Previously, Xianxia would never be willing to give his purple yang Excalibur to Qin Shuang no matter what. But now, he had so easily placed his purple yang Excalibur into Qin Shuang's hands. Everyone believed that after Qin Shuang's sword of life was destroyed, his strength would definitely not be as strong as it was in the past. But now that Qin Shuang had obtained the purple yang Excalibur, his strength had suddenly increased, and it looked like he was even stronger than before. That bastard Xianxia. When Hong Qianyi charged towards Qin Shuang, he was counterattacked by Qin Shuang using his purple yang Excalibur. The multicolored light that the purple yang Excalibur released carried an extremely cold and hot energy as it penetrated into his body, causing him to feel extremely uncomfortable. He had no choice but to quickly distance himself from Qin Shuang. Xianxia held his 6 realms mirrors and blocked the crowd's attacks on him. Although he could not retaliate, they were unable to harm him. What's going on with Qin Shuang? Xianxia was puzzled. Her current strength seemed to be even stronger than before, and even Hong Qianyi was not her opponent. Qin Shuang also has some sort of connection with the Purple Yang Excalibur. She seems to have already fused with it. Bai Shuolan suddenly came to Chen Xiang's side, and in a few seconds, he surrounded the group of people. The people who were attacking Chen Xiang all ran away. Bai Shuolan's strength was not weak. It was equivalent to the strength of a gifted fierce fighting god. It was not easy for an expert of the peak of world-defying crazy realm to defeat her, and furthermore, her sword of life was refined using the myriad Tao divine soils crystals. Just a moment ago, she had destroyed many of their divine weapons, and the ground was filled with various types of divine weapons that had been cut off by her sword of life. Chen Xiang looked at Qin Shuang and saw that there was a faint purple pattern that looked like a sun on his forehead. It was not there before, but it had only appeared after she had obtained the Purple Yang Excalibur. Just what is Qin Shuang's relationship with the Purple Yang Excalibur? After she obtained the Purple Yang Excalibur, it was as if she was on stimulants. Chen Xiang felt that it was inconceivable. At this moment, Qin Shuang's cold and proud eyes were filled with purple light that flickered, and the few elders from the Qin family saw that Qin Shuang had become so powerful, and had even obtained the Purple Yang Excalibur. They all flew over, wanting Qin Shuang to stop. However, Qin Shuang acted like he could not hear her, and continued to attack the Qin elders who were rushing over. 2 of the elders had their arms chopped off by her, causing them to be severely injured. You guys clearly know that I have a blood contract with Chen Xiang, yet you still chose to make a move against him. This is all because of you, and now that Chen Xiang asked me to kill you all, I promised him to do so in order to fulfill the contents of the contract. I can only kill you. Qin Shuang's words were ice-cold and carried a dense killing intent. Even though the Purple Yang Excalibur in her hands was fire attributed, it had released an extremely terrifying cold aura just now. After a thick layer of purple ice appeared on the ground, with a loud shout from Qin Shuang, the ice layer suddenly trembled, and ice spikes emerged from the layer of ice one after another and continuously flew upwards, piercing through the bodies of many people. Amongst them, the Heaven-Old Imperial family suffered the most severe losses, because they had more enemies, and they weren't too strong either. Facing Qin Shuang's furious attack, they didn't even have the strength to withstand it, and their bodies were all penetrated by the purple ice spikes. What was terrifying was that after the purple ice spikes pierced through their bodies, they suddenly exploded with a burst of flame energy, shooting out purple sun madness fire-s that burned those people into ashes. Quite a few Lan clan and Qin clan people died, and not long after, more than half of them died. Among them, there were a few elderly people from the world-defying crazy realm, whose strength was greater than the youths. But facing Qin Shuang's power, they could not resist at all. Some of them were killed by Shuolan. Qin Shuang is really scary. I'm not her match right now. At this moment, she was with Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang's 6 realms mirrors had played a huge role. Other people's attacks could not even come close. Once they attack, Chen Xiang only needed to use the mirror surface of the 6 realms mirrors to be able to deflect the strong energy back. Shuolan, be careful. It seems like these fellows are going to go all out, Chen Xiang said as his eyebrows knitted together. That group of people had suffered such heavy losses. If they were to leave just like that, they would definitely not be satisfied. Other than Hong Qianni, this group of trash posed no threat at all. Bai Shuolan let out a cold snort. The sword of life in his hands had already flown out, like a falling sun. It charged forward with a long fiery tail, and pierced through the body of an old man, blasting him away. Bai Shuolan's strength was indeed very terrifying. After all, she possessed the purest sword blood, and had an extremely thorough understanding of the frenzy sword method. Chen Xiang looked at Hong Qianni, who was watching from afar, angry and anxious. His eyes filled with jealousy, jealous of Qin Shuang's sudden increase in strength. One had to know that many people had said that Qin Shuang's strength was similar to his. Although they had frequently compared him, who would have known that Qin Shuang would actually be a little weaker than him? Yet today he actually didn't even dare to receive one of Qin Shuang's strikes. He could only stare from afar. Hong Qianni was a very proud person, but he couldn't become arrogant in front of Qin Shuang now, because when he exchanged blows with Qin Shuang earlier, he had already felt Qin Shuang's frightening power. The layer of ice on the ground had originally been a light purple color, but now it had suddenly turned deep purple. Moreover, it had produced a very strange force that made people feel like they were in a domain that was completely controlled by someone else. Qin Shuang's domain. Xianxia shouted in shock. I understand. Back when I was fighting her, she seemed to have used teleportation to attack me all of a sudden, making it impossible for me to track her movements. It turns out that it's because she's released a domain and she's moving in it like teleportation. Yes, the domain she releases is even scarier now. Bai Shulan had already stopped her attacks, because that group of people were currently running all over the place, wanting to quickly leave this area covered in purple ice. You want to run away from my 9 sons' purple ice domain? Qin Shuang let out a cold laugh. She suddenly appeared behind a group of people and slashed out with the purple yang Excalibur in her hands. The fallen pieces hit the ice and exploded into a wave of explosions. They were all set ablaze and all of them died. This group of people were all from the Lan clan and all of them were gone. Qin Shuang now possessed the body of a god of death, causing the Qin family and Heaven Old Imperial family to tremble. After the people from Lan clan were exterminated, Qin Shuang once again appeared in the vicinity of the Qin family. Because she and Xianxia had a blood contract, and Xianxia told her to kill him in a hurry, she didn't have any choice. Furthermore, the Qin family didn't even discuss with her before attacking Xianxia. This kind of ability made her extremely angry. Don't blame me. After Qin Shuang finished speaking, with a few swishing sounds, he struck out with his sword. A few semicircular purple qi blades incorrectly flew over, chopping apart several tens of people from the Qin family. The meat was burnt to ashes as it fell onto the icy ground. Xianxia and Bai Shulan did not need to do anything at the moment, and they were safe as well. Although Hong Qianyi was here, Hong Qianyi could not touch them. Heaven Old Imperial family was very smart. They ran away immediately. Hong Qianyi, what are you doing? You caused my death. An old man from the Heaven Old Imperial family roared. They thought that if Hong Qianyi went to stall Qin Shuang, he would not be able to protect Xianxia. But Xianxia actually gave the purple yang Excalibur to Qin Shuang. Qin Shuang's strength had increased explosively, and with just a single sword strike, Hong Qianyi was scared witless. The more he looked, the more frightened Hong Qianyi became. Qin Shuang is currently in the peak of world-defying crazy realm, and she has 4 world-defying stage fierce fighting souls. I am simply not her match. Hong Qianyi already understood why Qin Shuang suddenly became so strong. Hong Qianyi was only at the middle stage of the world-defying crazy realm, and he only had 2 world-defying stage fierce fighting souls, which were far inferior to Qin Shuang. If he were to continue fighting with Qin Shuang, he would only end up getting killed by 1 sword strike from Qin Shuang. Xianxia and Bai Shulan were also very surprised. Qin Shuang suddenly had 2 more world-defying stage fierce fighting soul. You can't escape. Qin Shuang controlled the deep purple-colored ice ground to tremble, and a few purple-colored ice swords condensed, flying in and out of the domain. Only Xianxia and Bai Shulan's location did not have any purple-colored ice swords flying around, as the other regions were all covered by this extremely terrifying purple-colored ice sword. Xianxia saw an old man's body immediately turn into ice after being stabbed, and the purple ice sword that was stabbed in released the icy cold power and sealed him in ice, then immediately exploded and shattered the person who was frozen. This made Xianxia's scalp tingle. Shuelan, you enter the Bai mansion first. Xianxia hurriedly brought Bai Shulan to the main entrance of the Bai mansion. What about you? Bai Shulan was a little worried. She knew that Xianxia was going to stay outside because the purple yang Excalibur was his. You don't have to worry about me. Xianxia shook the 6 realms mirrors in his hand. Bai Shulan nodded and entered the Bai mansion. At this time, most of the people in Heaven Old Imperial family had also been killed, leaving only Hong Qianyi. Hong Qianyi couldn't win against Qin Shuang, and he couldn't attack Xianxia either, so he couldn't escape Qin Shuang's domain. He was 2 world-defying stage fierce fighting soul less than Qin Shuang, and the disparity in their strength was enormous. Qin Shuang, do you really want to kill me? Hong Qianyi bellowed. He only saw a array disc in his hand. Holding it tightly, he did not know what use this array disc was. but he could see that Hong Qianyi was betting everything on this. I have to kill him. Qin Shuang's voice was cold and determined. In the blink of an eye, she had disappeared. Don't even think about succeeding. Hong Qianyi roared. The formation plate in his hand suddenly shot out and appeared in the sky. The moment the array appeared, a wave of spatial energy rippled out. Xianxia was shocked. He himself immediately channeled his spatial energy, wanting to get rid of the energy that was devoured, but he could not move. You! Qin Shuang knew what Hong Qianyi was doing and coldly snorted. He then hastily rushed to Xianxia's side and tightly grabbed onto his shoulder. Xianxia only felt himself being engulfed by an extremely strong flow of spatial energy, as though he was about to be absorbed to some other place. Ha ha! Hong Qianyi won't die, just you wait. Once I condense 4 world-defying stage fierce fighting soul S, I'll definitely torture you to death. Hong Qianyi's laughter could be heard from time to time. Very soon, Xianxia felt that he left the heaven-old super realm and entered a very unstable spatial passageway. Where are we going? Xianxia asked anxiously. Are we leaving the heaven-old super realm? Yes, we are going to the Myriad Tao. Hong Qianyi has an array disc in his hand, and when he opens the passage to the top of the Myriad Tao, it will open because the spatial energy above the Myriad Tao is too strong, so it will produce a strong devouring force that will suck us in. Qin Shuang said, Right now, we are in a spatial passageway. Hong Qianyi left before us, but we wouldn't have met him after we went to the Myriad Tao. If it wasn't for me grabbing you, we would have all split up. Qin Shuang was actually very calm, and her voice was very steady. But I don't want to go to Myriad Tao. How will I be able to return to the heaven-old super realm then? Xianxia had already planned to advance to the late stage or peak of the world-defying crazy realm from the heaven-old super realm S before this, so he had plans to go to the Myriad Tao S. But right now he was only in world-defying stage Fierce Soul, and was only at the early stages of the world-defying crazy realm, yet he already surpassed the Myriad Tao, which made it difficult for him to survive. It's easy to go back, Qin Shuang said. But for the current you, it would be somewhat difficult. Why? Xianxia expressed his confusion. Aren't you guys able to come back as well? We can go back because we have 2 world-defying stage fierce fighting soul S. Qin Shuang said. Our world-defying stage fierce fighting soul is different from normal world-defying stage fierce soul. One of our berserker souls is equivalent to 2 of yours. So, if you want to return, you need to condense at least 3 world-defying stage fierce soul S. Qin Shuang and the other fierce fighting goddess would also need to form 2 berserk battle spirits before they could return, while Xianxia only condensed ordinary world-defying stage fierce soul. With ordinary world-defying stage fierce soul, he would need to condense 3 more to be able to return. All right, Xianxia sighed. Not long after, he came out from the pitch-black spatial passageway. He saw the sunlight, and at the same time, he and Qin Shuang was falling non-stop. I can't actually fly, what a shitty thing. Xianxia had originally wanted to float, but it was completely useless. He tried to use the power of space, but he couldn't travel at all. This is above Myriad Tao. There are many laws that cannot be used. Qin Shuang knew that Xianxia had mastered the laws of time and space, but after coming to the Myriad Tao, these were all useless. Then wouldn't I be crippled? Xianxia looked extremely weak. Coming to such an unfamiliar place, he was weak, and he could not use any life-saving methods. If you want to use it, you can also use it. Release a proud domain of your own. In your domain, you can use the laws that you control. Qin Shuang grabbed Xianxia, her entire body releasing purple qi, causing her to float and drop bit by bit. Hated Hong Qianyi to the core right now. Bringing him into such a place, it would be difficult for him to survive here. Moreover, he had previously provoked an enemy in the Purple Yang Divine Palace. If they met again, it would be troublesome. Since Qin Shuang could not fly even in this place, she could only pull him down bit by bit. As he was descending, Xianxia saw that the environment below was actually a very large forest. The trees in the forest were very tall, and all of them were very strange. Generally speaking, the trunks were cylindrical, but the trunks here were square columns, and the leaves were round and green. There was only one sun in the sky, but it looked rather large and very hot. The world-defying stage fierce power is extremely rich. Xianxia only felt that it was a good thing. He looked at the mountain peak in the distance, which was releasing waves of blue light. It was also a strange sight. This is a hell of a place. Xianxia had already landed on the ground. He saw that all the flower petals were square, and said, "That's the case above Myriad Tau. Ghosts are everywhere here." Qin Shuang took a deep breath and then sat on the ground to rest. The great battle from before, coupled with the fact that she was dragging Xianxia down, had exhausted her energy by quite a bit. "Qin Shuang, the purple yang Excalibur is mine," Xianxia whispered as he saw Qin Shuang holding onto the purple yang Excalibur tightly. Qin Shuang, who had his eyes closed, suddenly opened those ice-cold eyes of his. Looking at Xianxia, he said in a deep voice, "I can return the purple yang Excalibur to you, but I don't care about your life and death in the future. All right. I'll temporarily keep the purple yang Excalibur in your custody." Xianxia curled his lips. "What exactly is your relationship with the purple yang Excalibur? Once you get the purple yang Excalibur, it will be like having several jars of chicken blood." Amazing. The two world-defying stage fierce fighting souls sealed within the purple yang Excalibur were originally mine. Qin Shuang said, "The world-defying stage fierce fighting soul inside has already been merged by me, so even if I give this purple yang Excalibur to you, it won't have the power it had before. Only I can unleash the power of the purple yang Excalibur." "Why is your world-defying stage fierce fighting soul sealed inside the purple yang Excalibur?" Xianxia was very curious. "Humph, you don't need to know too much." Qin Shuang snorted, closed his eyes, and no longer looked at Xianxia. "If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't even have had a chance to touch the purple yang Excalibur." Xianxia stuck his tongue out at her. "If not for you, I would definitely be able to obtain purple yang Excalibur from Super Yang Divine Lord." Qin Shuang said, "The purple yang Excalibur was originally mine. Only I am qualified to have it. You saw it before, the changes after I obtained it. This is proof. Forget it. Forget it. The purple yang Excalibur is still useful to me. Even if I give them to you, it's just a collection." Xianxia waved his hand. "Now that I'm in this damned place, you must protect me and not let me die. Don't worry. There is a lifeline connection between you and the purple yang Excalibur. If you die, the purple yang Excalibur will also be destroyed." This was also why Qin Shuang wanted to capture Xianxia before and come to the Myriad Tau with him. "How could I not know of such a thing?" Xianxia frowned and then asked, "Qin Shuang, do you know the purple yang Divine Palace?" "Of course I know." Qin Shuang suddenly opened his eyes, but his gaze was not as cold as before, carrying a trace of reminiscence. "That's where I grew up." Xianxia suddenly felt that Qin Shuang's identity was not simple. But why was he a member of the Qin family? Regarding the purple yang Excalibur, Xianxia didn't want to talk about it. He had gotten quite a few Crystal Emperor from them. If Qin Shuang knew about it, he might get him to hand them over. "That sword of yours was refined by a Crystal Emperor, right?" Qin Shuang suddenly asked. "No," Xianxia replied indifferently. "Don't think that you can lie to me. Answer the truth. Where did your Crystal Emperor come from?" Qin Shuang knew that Xianxia was talking. This was the first time she saw Xianxia, who did not even blink his eyes when he lied. "I picked it up." Xianxia was lying again. Seeing Qin Shuang's face full of disbelief, he curled his lips and said, "You want to know my secret? You don't even have a door, and yet you yourself are so secretive. Why should I tell you about my matter?" Qin Shuang being able to get the Crystal Emperor did make her curious, because to her knowledge, only the super young old ancestor and a few very old fellows could get the Crystal Emperor. Xiang is one of super young old ancestor's sons, and I am Xiang's grandson. After I died, my grandfather found two of my world-defying stage fierce fighting souls and refined them into this sword. I was reincarnated later on, so I became a member of the Qin family. When Qin Shuang talked about this matter, his expression was extremely calm. But this made Xianxia's heart feel as though it was being shocked and stirred. This Qin Shuang was actually the reincarnation of the super young old ancestor's grandson. He was secretly glad that he was extremely tactful for not revealing everything that had happened inside the Purple Yang Divine Palace, or else those Crystal Emperor would definitely have been caught. Really? I don't believe it. Xianxia actually believed her. From the intimate relationship between her and the Purple Yang Excalibur, it could be seen. Believe it or not. Qin Shuang rolled her eyes at him and said, I already told you everything about me. It's your turn. The ancient Super Yang Divine Altar of the Divine Soil Restricted Area was resurrected by me. Xianxia said, I also spent half my life to refine those Crystal Emperor, so it's like this. If that's the case, then the Tinder array should have been set up for you by the private slaughter. Qin Shuang did not doubt Xianxia's words. She was extremely shocked. I never thought that you would actually be able to use the myriad Tao Divine Soil's crystal to refine a Crystal Emperor. This must be done using the power of time, in order for you to be able to complete it in a short period of time. I don't have any Crystal Emperor on me now. The myriad Tao Divine Soil crystal is in the Divine Soil Restricted Area, so don't try to trick me. Xianxia still had 9 Crystal Emperor, and each one was worth 2 of the super high-quality Crystal Emperor that was refined by the super young old ancestor. Qin Shuang did not say anything else. She naturally knew that Xianxia was not an ordinary guy. Otherwise, she would not have lost to him. Xianxia leaned on a square tree trunk. Originally, it was a little stuffy here, but suddenly there was a gust of cold wind, causing him to feel extremely comfortable. Above this myriad Tao is truly a damned place. I can't fly, and not only that, I can also use the time and space power. This is simply suicidal. After Xianxia finished speaking, the cold wind suddenly disappeared. Xiao Shuangshuang released some cold air. I feel uncomfortable from the heat. Xianxia looked at Qin Shuang and said. Just as he finished speaking, the gust of cold wind appeared again. He was puzzled and mumbled. This gust of wind is so sudden and unexpected. What exactly is going on? Suddenly, there was a weak vibration coming from the ground. Xianxia was startled and jumped up fiercely. There's movement. Yes, a difficult guy to deal with. Qin Shuang slowly stood up, his expression solemn as he looked in a direction, tightly holding onto the Purple Yang Excalibur, and said, Protect yourself well. Qin Shuang's expression was extremely nervous. This was something that Xianxia had never seen before. It could be seen how powerful this thing was. What is it? Xianxia took out something that even Qin Shuang was afraid of, and it was definitely not something that he could deal with. He couldn't teleport or fly right now. He had to protect himself well. It should be a second-level wild beast. Qin Shuang said in a low voice, This guy's strength is equivalent to peak of world-defying crazy realm. It's equivalent to the peak of the world-defying crazy realm? You are also at the peak of the world-defying crazy realm now, and you even possess a world-defying stage fierce fighting soul. Xianxia said, You should not be afraid of this guy. I'm only guessing right now if it's a third-level arrogant beast, it would be hard to deal with. Qin Shuang held onto the Purple Yang Excalibur tightly, looking in the direction of the sound. When the wild beast that approached, it was extremely secretive, as if it wanted to ambush them. This guy must be really good at sneak attacks. Xianxia thought. If he did not sense the weak movements on the ground, he would not have been able to discover this arrogant beast. Just by thinking about it, Xianxia felt that it was terrifying that a beast with the strength of at least peak of world-defying crazy realm would not even have a trace of qi to release. That was why Xianxia felt that it was a beast that liked to sneak and attack. He's here. Qin Shuang's face changed, her body trembled, and released a burst of qi wave that blew Xianxia far away, and after Xianxia was flung far away, he saw a gray tiger pouncing towards Qin Shuang. When he was flying, he spat out a silent bolt of lightning and struck towards Qin Shuang's chest. The lightning he obtained was extremely powerful, and when it shot out, that aura made Xianxia feel fear. Qin Shuang was also unable to dodge because the speed of the lightning was extremely fast and there were even a few of them. Although she was unable to dodge, a thick layer of purple ice appeared in front of her chest. Like a shield, it blocked the lightning bolts that were shooting towards her. "It's the wild thunder tiger," Qin Shuang shouted. "Xianxia, stay away from this guy." After the wild thunder tiger attacked Qin Shuang, it immediately pounced towards him. Its speed was like a ray of gray lightning, quickly rushing towards Xianxia. Qin Shuang was startled. She anxiously followed along, originally wanted to counterattack, but the wild thunder tiger's speed was too fast, and its attacks did not match with her normal speed. She thought that the wild thunder tiger would continue to attack her. He never thought that after the wild thunder tiger lost, it would use its fastest speed to attack Xianxia. Xianxia had always been holding the 6 realms mirrors in front of his chest to block. The wild thunder tiger did not know how powerful this thing was. So when it pounced towards Xianxia, it spat out a very berserk lightning. When the wild thunder tiger were attacking Qin Shuang before, that lightning did not make a sound. But now, when they attacked Xianxia, they were accompanied by rolling thunder. As Xianxia watched the lightning strike down with a destructive might, he felt like he was facing a death sentence. Facing this kind of power, he was simply unable to react at all, and all his actions were useless. When the violent lightning struck Xianxia's 6 realms mirrors, a huge explosion resounded. Countless lightning bolts shot out like fireworks, striking all directions. Amongst them, a dazzling bolt of lightning flew out from the 6 realms mirror's mirror and struck the wild thunder tiger. Roar! The wild thunder tiger did not know that Xianxia's 6 realms mirrors had this kind of power, to think that it could actually reflect on his attack. At this time, Qin Shuang had already come over. She waved her purple yang Excalibur and fiercely hacked at it. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. She hacked out 10 times in a row, each sword bringing with it her strongest power, causing the wild thunder tiger in her body to spurt out blue blood. Xianxia gasped for breath while holding the 6 realms mirrors. Although the 6 realms mirrors had blocked a lot of the energy, the intense tremors that had erupted made his entire body in pain. "Are you all right?" Xianxia had just arrived at Myriad Tao, and if she were to die just like that, she would feel extremely apologetic. Moreover, Xianxia had a special relationship with the purple yang Excalibur. So if Xianxia died, the purple yang Excalibur would be destroyed as well. "It's fine. Thank you for your concern." Xianxia laughed. "Look at your panicked expression. It's as if the one you love was almost killed. You're not my sweetheart, Pui." Qin Shuang's face sank and cursed in her heart. She was still worried about Xianxia just now, but he was actually teasing her again. This guy is really amazing. Xianxia looked at the wild thunder tiger lying on the ground not far away. If he did not have the protection of the 6 realms mirrors just now, he would have been killed. "He knew I wasn't easy to deal with, so he suddenly attacked you." Qin Shuang walked towards the wild thunder tiger. Just as he was about to kill this fellow who was struggling at death's door, the wild thunder tiger suddenly transformed into a bolt of lightning and flew off in a different direction. He actually ran away. Qin Shuang looked at the direction in which the wild thunder tiger had disappeared. Just as she was about to chase after him, she felt that the conditions did not allow it, because she still had to bring Xianxia along. "So what if we ran? It's good that we're fine." Xianxia felt that it was nothing. "Do you know how expensive wild thunder tiger are?" Qin Shuang snorted. "If we can obtain this wild thunder tiger, it would be a fortune. How much can you sell it for?" Xianxia was extremely curious. "Oh right, what does Myriad Tao use as currency?" "Myriad Tao divine soil," Qin Shuang said. "You might not know, but in the past few thousand years, someone found out that there is a special kind of energy inside the Myriad Tao divine soil, which allowed people to cultivate and gain a strong fleshly body. So the Myriad Tao divine soil became the main transaction currency." Xianxia frowned. "Doesn't that mean that there are a lot of Myriad Tao divine soil-s above this Myriad Tao? I really didn't expect this." Qin Shuang nodded. "Yes, generally speaking, the stronger people will have Myriad Tao divine soil-s that weigh several thousand kilograms." Xianxia curled his lips and said, "I had thought that the Myriad Tao divine soil was an extremely rare place. I hadn't thought that there would actually be someone with a few thousand kilograms." He had met the people of thief race before, and those thief race people's eyes immediately lit up when they saw the tiniest bit of myriad Tao divine soil. Myriad Tao divine soil isn't actually that rare. It's just that it's controlled by a few strong guys. Qin Shuang said, "What's rare is something like the myriad Tao divine soil crystal." Had seen a lot of myriad Tao divine soil crystals, but he had seen a lot of them in the divine soil restricted area. There are a lot in divine soil restricted area. If I knew earlier, I would have brought more with me. Xianxia had a lot of them right now, but he did not want Qin Shuang to know about them. Qin Shuang brought Xianxia and walked toward the direction the wild thunder tiger was fleeing in and said, "The myriad Tao divine soils crystals and myriad Tao divine soils best not be used. Once you use it, it will be very easy for you to see through it." Why? Xianxia felt that the myriad Tao divine soil inside the divine soil restricted area was very ordinary. There was nothing special about it. Why would she be recognized? Qin Shuang was the granddaughter of the super young old ancestor, so she knew a lot of things. The myriad Tao divine soils in the divine soil restricted area were all refined by my grandfather and can be easily identified. Once discovered, the various races above the myriad Tao will think of ways to find the source. Qin Shuang said, "They do not allow this kind of myriad Tao divine soil to exist. In their eyes, this is a kind of evil myriad Tao divine soil." Xianxia curled his lips. "They are just jealous. It's just that they can't refine it themselves, they can't see others good." Qin Shuang agreed extremely well with Xianxia's words, and nodded. "Indeed, they are full of hostility towards my grandfather." "Oh right, I heard that there are not many humans above myriad Tao. Is that true?" Feng Kur told Xianxia this. "If we were to say that the humans that came from the divine wasteland are truly pitifully few in number. Above the myriad Tao is the world of the masters of various races. Back then, the most powerful people here was the super young divine race." Qin Shuang said, "Above the myriad Tao is a very vast world. Compared to the large clans here, ordinary humans take care of it very little, and they seem to have their own territory too. In order to not be bullied, they are very united. If they don't have enough strength, they wouldn't dare to run around. Therefore, they can only limit themselves to a very small region and can't see the world above the vast myriad Tao." Qin Shuang saw the blue-colored blood on the ground and said, "This is wild thunder tiger's blood. If humans encounter wild thunder tiger, they would normally not be able to defeat it." Xianxia had heard of the human race's situation here before. He knew of the way of the king, and the way of the king was considered strong here. "Which race is the strongest right now?" Qin Shuang asked. Qin Shuang had always been above this myriad Tao, so she knew a little about the things here. "Soul River Divine Race." Qin Shuang looked at the sky. "You should be clear about the world-defying stage Soul River. Right now, the beings born in the world-defying stage Soul River are the most powerful among all the myriad Tao. The people of world-defying stage Soul River were actually able to give birth to living beings." Xianxia naturally knew how powerful the world-defying stage Soul River was. The world-defying stage Fierce Soul could let a person obtain a strong power, and the world-defying stage Fierce Soul that Xianxia had fused with before was just a sword. It was just that he had never used it before. Until now, he still could not control it well, so he had yet to condense the second world-defying stage Fierce Soul. "Yes, these guys are very strong. You must be careful when you meet them," Qin Shuang said. The wild thunder tiger was already heavily injured, and although it could run away very quickly, it still left behind a lot of blood. It was rare for Qin Shuang to run into a beast of this level, and one that was also severely injured. She would definitely not let it go. Walking out of the strange forest, they saw a large mountain in front of them, and the wild thunder tiger's chi was also becoming clearer and clearer. "This guy really runs away," Xianxia exclaimed. They had chased after him for a long time. Qin Shuang stared at a mountain and said, "Wait for me here, and pay attention to your surroundings. The wild thunder tiger should be at that mountain." "All right." Xianxia took out the 6 realms mirrors, and then allowed it to grow bigger. He sat inside, and the barrier released by the 6 realms mirrors had a very strong defensive power. Qin Shuang glanced at Xianxia's Six Realms mirrors. She also knew what Xianxia's Six Realms mirrors was made of, and how powerful they were. Without asking any further, she ran to the mountain in front of them. Xianxia sat inside the Six Realms mirrors, looked at the blue sky, and said to Feng Kuo, "Xiao Kuo, I really never expected that I would actually come above the myriad Tao. Yeah, you have a lot of enemies here." Feng Kuo laughed. "Thief race and those guys hate you so much. They saw you take away so many Crystal Emperor with their own eyes. But I have friends here too, Li Ba, Wang Gui, and Ma Jinhong." Xianxia laughed. "I wonder if we can find them using Six Realms Mirrors S. When he was in Divine Wasteland or in Heaven Old Super Realm, he could use the Six Realms Mirrors to find someone he was familiar with. Now he tried to find Qin Shuang, who was closest to him, but failed. Coming to Myriad Tao is simply impossible." Chen Xiang was extremely disappointed. "Chen Xiang, run!" Qin Shuang's shout suddenly came from afar. Chen Xiang could only see from the direction that two people were chasing Qin Shuang. But Qin Shuang had ran to the other direction and did not go towards him, as he did not want to attract the enemy over. Qin Shuang was going to look for the injured Wild Thunder Tiger, but he met two people, and they were two very strong fellows. Otherwise, Qin Shuang wouldn't have directly run away without even fighting them. Those two seem very strong. Chen Xiang looked at the mountain that Qin Shuang had just fled to, then used the counterpower to conceal himself and quietly went closer. Qin Shuang had already run far away, but Chen Xiang felt that it wouldn't be a problem if he continued to chase after them. After nearing the mountain, he discovered a cave. This cave was decorated extravagantly. After he entered, he found the Wild Thunder Tiger lying on the ground. This guy must be the pet of a very powerful guy. Chen Xiang saw a collar on the neck of the Wild Thunder Tiger and coldly snorted, "Raising such a dangerous thing, and even letting him run around, I almost killed him." The Wild Thunder Tiger's injuries were serious, and she had already fainted. Chen Xiang took out the heavenly magic sword, stabbed it towards the head, killed it, and then left with the corpse. After Chen Xiang ran out of the cave, he anxiously followed the weak aura Qin Shuang had left behind when he was escaping. In this kind of place, he could not leave without Qin Shuang, although Qin Shuang was cold, but she was still good to him and was also good-looking. Chen Xiang felt that it was a very happy thing to be with her. Several days had passed and Chen Xiang finally felt Qin Shuang's aura. He had already passed through a large mountain range and arrived at a beautiful scenery. "It's in that mountain." Chen Xiang saw that there was a mountain in the middle of a river, and Qin Shuang's weak aura was being emitted little by little. Looking at the calm surface of the river, Chen Xiang was a little perturbed. He did not dare to go into the water, even though the water was extremely clear and he could see the bottom of the river, but he was very familiar with the things above Myriad Tao. They could not fly here. Luckily, the Six Realms Mirrors was able to float on the surface of the water and carried him towards the small mountain in the middle of the river. Chen Xiang came to the bottom of the hill and saw a cave. After he entered, he shouted, "Xiao Shuang Shuang. How are you?" "Chen Xiang." Qin Shuang was surprised to find this place. "Why are you here?" "I missed you, so I came." Chen Xiang laughed. He had already reached the end of the cave and could only see Qin Shuang's messy hair. His expression was filled with exhaustion. "Are you hurt?" Chen Xiang asked with extreme concern. Qin Shuang shook her head. Her face was ugly, but it could be seen that she had been through an intense battle. Chen Xiang took out a glowing stone, brightening up the area even more. "What's the matter with you?" Chen Xiang looked at Qin Shuang, who was combing her hair, and asked curiously, "Where are the two who were chasing after you?" "They were chased away by me. These two guys are very powerful." Qin Shuang recalled this and frowned. "Luckily I have the Purple Yang Excalibur, or else I would be dead for sure." "Where's the Purple Yang Excalibur?" asked. The reason he was able to trace his way to this place was also because he had a special connection with the Purple Yang Excalibur, so he could sense the direction of Qin Shuang's aura. "It's here." Qin Shuang called out the Purple Yang Excalibur and it appeared in her hands. "I was careless. I didn't expect that there would be a fellow from the Soul River Divine race there. I'm sorry I left you. In that case, I can't go and find you either. Otherwise I would only lead those two fellows to you, which would be disadvantageous to you. Xianxia laughed. That's understandable, it's fine. The two fellows Qin Shuang had met were actually from the Soul River Divine race, the strongest race within the Myriad Tao. Why are the people of Soul River Divine race here? They are really strong. Chun Xiang knew what Qin Shuang was going to do. That wild thunder tiger was raised by a young master of Soul River Divine race. Those two are his servants, and they were responsible for bringing the wild thunder tiger to this place for a stroll. At the same time, they let the thunder god tiger kill some people to eat. Qin Shuang's expression was cold. Some powerful people like to do this. I was almost eaten, Xianxia said angrily. These bastards, they really do not put human lives in their eyes. Of course, they all do. Qin Shuang coldly snorted. Xianxia suddenly laughed. It's fine. I've already killed the big tiger. As he spoke, he took out the wild thunder tiger's corpse. When Qin Shuang saw it, his eyes were filled with surprise and joy. She did not expect Xianxia to have such guts, and be so carefree as to not be afraid at all and go into the cave to kill this wild thunder tiger after seeing her being hunted. What Xianxia had done was always beyond her expectations, and she had to admit that Xianxia was definitely a strange person. You really dare to do it? Qin Shuang anxiously said. Quickly put it away. We will sell it when we reach the city. After Xianxia put it away, he chuckled. This guy almost ate me. How could I let him go? Oh right. Xiao Shuang, you seem to be very poor. Your strength is not weak, you shouldn't be so poor. In the past, because I had the Qin family's power, I was not worried about food and clothing, and I did not lack other resources. However, now that I have betrayed the Qin family, I can only rely on myself. Qin Shuang said. Moreover, my true strength is after I obtained the purple yang Excalibur. Otherwise, with my previous strength, if I met those two servants, I would have died a long time ago. At this point in time, Chun Xiang was very clear that the strength of the people above Myriad Tao were indeed very terrifying. No wonder the Myriad Tao Dan God died here, and Wang Gui couldn't do anything about it. When I rest well, I'll take you to the city. It'll be much safer inside. Qin Shuang said. She wanted to be together with Chun Xiang for a very long time, because Chun Xiang's current strength was still very weak and was unable to completely protect herself. She could only wait until Chun Xiang became stronger before she could be at ease and let Chun Xiang survive above the Myriad Tao. After resting, Qin Shuang brought Chun Xiang across the river to the city that she had mentioned. 5 days passed and Chun Xiang saw a huge city. Just from the distance, he could sense the majesty of this city, as well as the divine might that enveloped the city's barrier. Everyone needs 1 or 2 Myriad Tao divine soilless to enter this city. Qin Shuang said, Don't use your Myriad Tao divine soilless. Here, someone can use the secret method of pill refining to refine many Myriad Tao divine soilless. This kind of behavior is forbidden. If discovered, this kind of alchemist will be captured and killed. This kind of alchemist will also be called an evil pill refiner. The group of people who designated this rule believed that the existence of such an alchemist would disrupt the law of balance, which was why they treated him this way. Chun Xiang disapproved and snorted. That group of people might have a large number of these alchemists under their hands, and refine a large number of them for them. However, they are not allowed to do it, as this will allow them to become stronger and stronger. It's good that you know this. Before you have absolute strength, you definitely can't do this. My grandfather is powerful enough, but didn't he mysteriously disappear just because he offended this bunch of people? Qin Shuang said, Fortunately, Divine Soil Restricted Area is being protected very well. If the Myriad Tao Divine Soil's crystals and crystals were to leak out, the consequences would be unthinkable. Qin Shuang brought Chun Xiang to the city gate and handed 2 tails of Myriad Tao Divine Soilless over. Those people would use one thing to check if these Myriad Tao Divine Soilless were natural, and only accept natural Myriad Tao Divine Soilless. Peace City? Can it really be safe? After Chun Xiang entered the city, he saw that the people inside had average strength. The majority of them were not even at the world-defying crazy realm, and even if there were people at the world-defying crazy realm, he felt that they were not very strong. At least not as strong as him. I'm fine as long as I'm safe for now. When Qin Shuang came in, he had put on a conical hat and a simple disguise. This was to prevent the two servants from recognizing her. As Xianxia was walking on the street, he suddenly saw a portrait pasted on the wall. He anxiously walked over, and when he saw the portrait, he sent a sound transmission to Qin Shuang and laughed. This portrait will make you look ugly. If the wild thunder tiger was killed, the young master of the Soul River divine race would be furious. He would use all his power to find the person who killed his beast pet and then place a bounty in each of the large cities. 5 kilograms of myriad Tao divine soil. So many. I really want to hand you over. Chun Xiang transmitted. Seems like the wild thunder tiger cannot be sold here. Qin Shuang snorted. You definitely don't know the value of wild thunder tiger. If we sell the corpses, we would have 150 kilograms of myriad Tao divine soil, which would be enough for us to use for a very long time. Chun Xiang shook his head. He felt that relying only on selling arrogant beasts to earn wealth was too slow, and he even had to hide it. How many myriad Tao divine soil do you have left? Chun Xiang asked. What are you doing? Qin Shuang knew that Chun Xiang had a lot of insidious ideas. I want to sell pills. Chun Xiang said. At this point in time, he still had not understood the pill market situation. Stop thinking about it. Without the Hall of Pills authentication, you are an evil pill refiner. If you want to obtain the authentication, you will have to work for the Hall of Pills for 1,000 years for free. Qin Shuang curled his lips. Let's go. I will think of another way to sell the wild thunder tiger. Chun Xiang was not familiar with the market price of the pills in the myriad Tao, but after hearing Qin Shuang say that he needed a certificate from the alchemy shrine, he more or less understood what was going on. No matter where they were, the alchemist was a very important existence, and all the major powers needed to control these alchemists in their own hands. They could not allow the alchemists to establish their own sect, otherwise it would cause them great losses. Where is the alchemy hall? Chun Xiang asked. This city belongs to a small and middle-sized city. There is no alchemy hall here, so if you want to obtain the authentication, you have to go to the alchemy hall. Qin Shuang knew that Chun Xiang was a pretty good alchemist. She had already known about Chun Xiang's situation in the Heavenly Dan Mountain Villa before. However, because Chun Xiang's cultivation was still very low, she believed that he would definitely not be able to compare to the alchemist in terms of pill refining. Xiao Shuang, what is the status of the alchemist above the myriad Tao? Chun Xiang had heard before that the powerful alchemist here could refine a pill spirit. As long as they could refine a pill spirit, they could quickly produce a large amount of divine pellets. If they can concoct a high-rank primordial pill, then their status would definitely be very high. There are many of these kinds of alchemists. In short, they have a very good relationship with the strongest group of people in this world. Qin Shuang brought Chun Xiang to wander around the city. He had no idea what she was up to. Chun Xiang could only follow behind her now. His hands were itching to refine a tank. There were definitely many new pills for him to refine in myriad Tao. He could only concoct the intermediary Gu Shi Kuang Dan, Hua Quan Dan. Because he had obtained a pill spirit, he did not need to refine this pill in the future. He would be able to condense some of the pill spirit every day, and as time passed, he accumulated a lot of it. Xiao Shuang, I have some pills with me. Do you know how I can sell them? Chun Xiang already knew that there was some kind of alchemy shrine here, which meant that if this place sold pills, he would definitely be interfered with by this alchemy shrine. However, above myriad Tao was a very large world. The alchemy hall was not easy to manage, and there would always be loopholes. What pills do you want to sell? Qin Shuang thought that selling the pills privately would be much easier than selling the Wild Thunder Tigress. Moreover, if she sold the Wild Thunder Tigress, it would leave some traces behind. Hua Quan Dan. Have you ever heard of such a pill? The Hua Quan Dan could be of great help to others when they were condensing the world-defying stage Fierce Soul. Chun Xiang had already tried it before, so he was very clear about the effects of this kind of pellet. Of course, Qin Shuang had heard of this pill. She had even eaten it before. What's the quality? Qin Shuang asked again. Chun Xiang pulled her to where there were few people and took out a handful of pills. There were more than 10 of them, and all of them were of the highest quality. A pretty good Huaquan Dan. Qin Shuang nodded his head. It should be worth 5 taels of myriad Tao divine soilless per pellet. So cheap. Chen Xiang was suddenly disappointed. These Huaquan Dan were probably formed from the elixir that you won, right? Qin Shuang said softly. You need to be clear, there are many pills here that have a spirit in the old Alchemist, so these Huaquan Dan are not rare, and are very common here. With a human-shaped pill furnace like a pill spirit, it was like having a chicken that could lay eggs. It did not need any medicinal ingredients at all, and could make the pill spirit form Huaquan Dan every day. Fine, 5 liang for 5 liang. This can be sold for 50 liang, which should be enough for us to use for a while. Chen Xiang said. Enough! Qin Shuang only had 32 myriad Tao divine soilless on her hands right now. If she wanted to get this much, it wouldn't be easy either. After that, Qin Shuang brought Chen Xiang to a place that was filled with mixed clouds and dragons. She seemed to be extremely familiar with this type of place, and she didn't know how she used it, so she quickly found a person who specialized in purchasing black cores and sold those Huaquan Dan. Black pills were pills concocted by Alchemist without the certification of the Hall of Pills. Alchemists like these did not dare to sell them openly, and could only sell them at a low price on the black market. After Qin Shuang received the myriad Tao divine soil, he also took out something to check if it was something that was naturally formed. After selling all the pills, Qin Shuang quickly took Qin Xiang and left. If you sell it in the market, it will sell for at least 15 taels of silver. After that, you can give the Alchemy Hall a fee of 5 taels of silver, which is at least 10 taels. Qin Shuang and Chen Xiang went to an inn to rest. The Alchemy Hall is really dark. Chen Xiang cursed. Isn't it? However, the Alchemy God Hall is controlled by many powers, and they have been so exploited that they have even divided up myriad Tao divine soil. Qin Shuang sighed helplessly. Those with great strength will mostly be relied on by the great powers to exploit the weak along with them. If there was an expert who resisted, they would definitely disappear for no reason. Chen Xiang was not surprised at all by this matter. After going to so many different worlds in the past few years, he felt that the strong preyed on the weak. There are so many myriad Tao divine soilless here. Chen Xiang carefully looked at those naturally formed myriad Tao divine soilless. He was looking for any difference between this kind of naturally formed myriad Tao divine soilless and artificially created myriad Tao divine soilless. Once in a while, the world-defying stage Soul River in the sky will fall down like a meteor, scattering all over the place above the myriad Tao, so the myriad Tao divine soil will never stop. Qin Shuang said. In addition, now that people find out that you can use the myriad Tao divine soil to strengthen your body and cultivate, that's why the consumption to the myriad Tao divine soil is great. The naturally formed myriad Tao divine soil was a pale golden color, and it was no different from something that was artificially refined. Chen Xiang carefully checked it and finally found what was different about it. The biggest feature of the artificially refined myriad Tao divine soil was that it contained Sun Madness Fire S. When Chen Xiang hadn't cultivated a Sun Madness Fire, he had also artificially refined myriad Tao divine soil S. And after a period of time, extremely weak Sun Madness Fire S would emerge from within these myriad Tao divine soil S. It was the same for the myriad Tao divine soil S in Divine Soil Restricted Area. Divine Soil Restricted Area S were refined by Super Young Old Ancestor S. They all have clear features. Although the naturally formed myriad Tao divine soil did not possess any Sun Madness Fire S, they possessed another type of energy, and could also be considered a type of flame. However, Chen Xiang did not know what kind of flame that was. Did you find anything? Qin Shuang asked. She also seemed to know the problem of artificially refined myriad Tao divine soil. Of course. Chen Xiang nodded, and then told Qin Shuang about his discovery. That's right, they were distinguished based on the special flames of the myriad Tao divine soil S, and the Sun Madness Fire S of the artificial myriad Tao divine soil S. Qin Shuang said. Although it's the same whether these myriad Tao divine soil S use it for artifact forging or for rest, those large powers do not allow it. Chen Xiang frowned and said, if the myriad Tao divine soil that I refined can pass the test too, am I not rich?